Hi everyone, welcome once again to my YouTube channel, Dr. Quesero TV, and to my YouTube show, Ask the Cheese Doctor. This is the English version of my show in Spanish, and it is for people who speak English and doesn't understand my language because my language is Spanish. But I speak both languages. The thing is that if you want to learn how to make cheese and you don't speak Spanish, you can learn here at my show. Okay. Now we are already 23,000 subscribers. Okay, this show is only in English, it's not in Spanish. Okay, we are 23,000 subscribers. A lot of people that have been following me. I really appreciate it. Okay, and if you want to learn how to make cheese, you're in the right place. Here you will learn how to make cheese because I teach not only to make South American cheese, I teach how to make cheese. Okay, any type of cheese. Okay, now the people have started to connect. That's good. We have in my cheese course for beginners, on my cheese course for beginners, I already have three new members or three new students. Um, Enrique Gonzalez, Alfredo Vargas, and Ronald Leal. Okay, there are three new students. I want to have people from who speaks English. So because all my videos as well, they're in Spanish, but they're also translated in English, in Chinese, in Hindi, and Arabic. So all the videos are translated. If you want to learn, of course, we will have to communicate through English. Um, I also have new members in the membership program from YouTube, which is Cesar Silva, Jose Rene Martinez, Gonzalo Vega, and Diego de Matiz. Thank you guys. I really didn't have the time to check the channel lately, but now today I checked it, and now I know that you joined the membership program in the supporting category a while ago. Well, Cesar, he just joined 5 days ago, and I really appreciate it. I really enjoy it. With your help, we will be making more content so you can learn more each day. And today we're going to speak about something very important. When we make cheese, we use lactic cultures, correct? And sometimes our lactic cultures don't work. They don't work. Why? I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you the reason, what possible reason what problems you might have. So you have to consider, and when you have this problem, you have to do something. So I'm gonna give you the bit and pieces. So what problem you might have. Okay. Okay, this show is only for half an hour, maybe a little bit more, and I'm going to answer the question of my audience. If you have any question, don't be shy, ask it. Ask any question. I am here to help you to answer your questions. Okay, I'm also in several Facebook groups, and I also invite them to come to my show. And I always answer. Sometimes they have questions over there, and I just grab them and answer it here if they want to, but it will help you as well if you want to answer if you have this problem, because when you make cheese or when we make cheese, the problems are cyclic. The same problem might happen to you, might happen to someone else. To put an example, sometimes we are making cheese and we are inoculating the milk and the culture doesn't work, or the cheese or the curd doesn't get acidified, it doesn't lower the pH, and it might happen to you. It had happened to me before, and these are the same problems. So the idea is, if we go here, if you come here to the show, you will know, and we will know what to do in the future. Okay. So my tablet is still ongoing. Videos. I'm making a video. It's gonna be like a webinar. Okay. But it's going to be recorded. Um, is profitable making cheese? Can you make money with making cheese? This is the topic. Of course you can, but you have to use your imagination. So I'm gonna teach you. I'm gonna tell you what to do, what to consider in the video. So In this way, you will have a very profitable business. Okay. And today, as I said, today we're going to speak about the problems in lactic culture. Let me share the screen and get the presentation. Okay. Here we are from the beginning. You always have this problem. Okie dokie. Okay, problem when using lactic culture. As you know, when we are making cheese, we can make cheese. Our main source is milk. The main component when we make cheese is milk. And we can have two sources of milk: raw milk and pasteurized milk. Depending on the cheese that we make, we have to use one or the other. So generally, when we are making aged cheeses like cheddar, like Parmesan or Parmesan style cheese, if we are making pecorino, scamorza, if we are making Stilton cheese, these are cheeses that they need camembert cheese. These are cheeses that they need time to ripen, to get age. They need age. They need to be into the cave for 3, 4, 1 year, 2 years. It will depend of the cheese that you're making. With these cheeses, we can use raw milk. Okay, but if we are making fresh cheeses like queso fresco, queso blanco, Oaxaca cheese, no escamorza, if we are making mozzarella cheese, we necessarily have to use pasteurized milk because we might use um, raw milk, but it's not safe for the consumer because raw milk might have E. coli, yeast, and Streptococcus aureus, and these are cheeses that because the milk is if we use raw milk, this type of cheeses are pretty much fresh, and there's still a lot of water in the cheese, so the water will help the bacteria to grow. Instead, if we use raw milk and we age the cheese, the water will go, or pretty much a lot of water will go, and the bacteria doesn't have the water to reproduce, and the cheese will be safe. That's mainly the reason. Okay, so but we have to use this type of bacteria. So why do we use bacteria? Let's say that we are start from the point that we are using pasteurized milk. When we pasteurize the milk, okay, we apply heat to the milk. The heat kills the bad bacteria, the pathogen one, but it also kills the good bacteria, which is these bacteria that I'm putting there. These bacteria, the lactic bacteria, is called. We have two types of lactic bacteria. We have mesophilic bacteria and thermophilic bacteria. We also have non-lactic bacteria because they don't produce they don't produce acid. The first two bacteria, or the first two type of bacteria, the mesophilic and thermophilic, these bacteria use the lactose of milk, the sugar. The lactose is the sugar of milk, and they produce a byproduct called lactic acid. This lactic acid increases the acidity level into the milk and into the curd. And depending of the bacteria, some of them use low temperature and some of them use high temperature. Okay, so this type of bacteria, they produce basically acid. They produce all and other elements depending on the bacteria, but generally they produce acid. The non-lactic bacteria, which is this is the name of the bacteria, Propionibacterium bacterium shermani, they feed from the lactic acid produced by the bacteria, and they produce an acid called propionic acid. This propionic acid gets fermented, and by fermenting the acid, the gas will be produced, and we make the holes with the cheese. This type of bacteria is used in cheeses like Gruyere, like Edam, Gouda, because they have holes into the cheese. Okay, and especially Gruyere, raclette. These are cheeses that have holes. So, of course, in the mesophilic bacteria, we have, for to name two or three: Lactococcus lactis, Lactococcus cremoris, Lactococcus diacylactis, Leuconoscot, etc. Okay. The thermophilic, we have Streptococcus thermophilus, Lactobacillus delbrueckis, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so depending of the cheese that we make, we use one or the other. Generally, for example, if we make mozzarella, when we make mozzarella, we have to heat the curd at above 60 degrees. No, no, not we would say 55 degrees. Yeah, 60 degrees pretty much. Okay, now we have to use a bacteria that likes temperature, which is the thermophilic one. So generally, when we make mozzarella, we use thermophilic culture. But when we make queso fresco, for example, or when we make, let's say, we make Havarti, we use mesophilic cultures. When we make also Gouda cheese, we might use mesophilic cultures as well. When we are making Parmesan cheese, we have to heat the curd at 50 degrees. We use usually thermophilic cultures as well. So it will depend on the type of cheese, and this is the decision of the cheesemaker. But you can also use mesophilic to make mozzarella if you want to. The thing is that when you heat the mozzarella, the bacteria will die. But if you already achieve your goal and you have the acidity level that you are looking for, it's all right. You don't need to. I mean, by having the mesophilic bacteria, but and there the bacteria will produce enzymes that will give the cheese its character. But if these bacteria, they die eventually, sooner or later, and what remains is the enzymes that they use that helps to change the texture and the flavor of the cheese. But sometimes things are not like this. Sometimes we have problems with the bacteria. Okay, so what we do? Sometimes the bacteria get inoculated, inhibited, and they don't work, and they don't acidify our curd. Okay, so when we are making cheese, sometimes our bacteria doesn't produce the acid because we have low temperatures into the vat, or the curd is too cold. When the curd is too cold, the bacteria doesn't produce acid. Sometimes the acidity is too much, and the bacteria will die as well. So between the causes of initiator inhibition, we have in the cheese, when we are making the cheese, unsuitable temperature or high acidity. Okay, when the temperature is low, and it doesn't depend. It doesn't depend of the type of cheese of the type of bacteria that you are using. If you're using mesophilic, for example, that likes low temperature, but if you have your milk or your curd at, let's say, 8 degrees, 9 degrees, she won't reproduce, and she will not produce lactic acid, and therefore your pH won't go down, and your cheese will be exposed. See, so it's a chain. It's a chain. So low temperatures will carry low reproduction rate and low reproduction rate will be connected with low acid production. When you produce low acid, a low amount of acid, your cheese will not get the pH that will protect it. Or if you are making, for example, if you are making mozzarella, your cheese will not have the right level of acidity to stretch. because to make mozzarella, your curd need to have a certain level of acidity. It's a bandwidth. So if you're not into the bandwidth, your cheese will not stretch. Therefore, what you have to do, you have to do something and try to monitor the temperature. Also, if you have too much temperature, if your temperature is too high, the culture will get stressed, and or maybe they will die. So you have to. This is the other way around. This is the other side of the coin. You have to monitor your temperature when you are making cheese. Okay. Of course, it will depend on the type of cheese. What happens with the culture in the milk? What effect does it have? You will get poor quality or abnormal milk. Also, when you have mastitis in your milk, if your cow has mastitis, your milk will become of poor quality, and then it will give abnormal flavors. And if you're inoculating your if your milk if your cow is taking antibiotics, okay, the antibiotic will kill the bacteria, so your milk will not get acidified. That's the reason why when you are making cheese, you cannot use milk with antibiotics. If your milk has if your cow has mastitis, you can milk it. You just need to um, give them, I don't know, I reckon you have to give the milk to the calf. I don't know. Okay. Also, sometimes the cows, they eat some kind of products, and this product inhibit or they kill the bacteria. Okay, for example, yeah, when the food is consumed by the livestock, by the cows. If you are inoculating your cows with antibiotics because they're sick, they have, I don't know, the flu or whatever, this is a cause that your bacteria might not produce the lactic acid that you are using, or it might die when passing to the milk. Also, if you are, for example, um, making cheese and you are cleaning your equipment with quaternary ammonium, this is a disinfectant, very strong. I use it only for the floors, not for the tops. And I don't use it for my vats either. So I only use it for the floor, walls, ceiling, doors, but not for the equipment that is going to be in contact with the milk or the cheese. Okay. So this type, sometimes when we are washing the vats, we also have chlorine solution, and sometimes this chlorine solution, its concentration is higher than 200 parts per million. If the chlorine solution is above 200 parts per million, it will not get how do you call it, degraded. It will not get degraded. So you have to make your chlorine solution at 200 parts per million. Okay, and sometimes when you are, if we use detergents, I didn't put it there, but if you use detergent and you don't clean or you don't wash or rinse your vats or your pots accordingly, when you dry them up, the vat or the pot will still have rest of soap, and this soap eventually will inhibit the bacteria or might kill it. And the last one effect on milk, on the milk, is is a process that we call bacteriophagy. Bacteriophagy is a virus that attacks the lactic bacteria and kill it. They kill it. And I'm going to explain you this because how this works, because this is a very important process that you need to understand. Okay, so what's the bacteriophagy? These are viruses that attack the starter culture. They literally stab the culture, like this in the photo on the right. See, they just stab it, boom, and they inoculate their DNA. Their, this is how they work. They land into the walls of the bacteria, of the lactic bacteria. They land here, and this is the mouth. They eat the wall. They just penetrate it, and they inject the the DNA into the bacteria here, into the bacteria, and the DNA just goes through the bacteria. This DNA will reproduce, and eventually the bacteria, the lactic bacteria, will swollen, will swell, and it will explode, and they will reproduce. The bacteria will reproduce. The virus will reproduce, killing the bacteria. The bacteria, when it gets inoculated with this with this DNA material, will not produce lactic acid anymore. And for each lactic bacteria, the virus replicates between 15 and 100 times, okay, per hour, between 15 and 100 times per hour. So after 3 or 4 hours, the bacteria, I mean, the acid production will be zero, okay? So how does attack? As I said, it will inject inject the material, the DNA, killing the bacteria. Okay. Now, where are the sources of contagion? For example, when we are feeding the cow with silage, silage is the hay that is put into the silage. Okay, and they get contaminated with this type of virus. Also, the curd. The curd might be, especially if we don't clean our tanks accordingly, eventually they will get bacteriophage. Also, the milk. If the milk is raw, might be contaminated. Okay. In the plants as well, when we are in the manufacturing rooms, the serum deposit, when we don't sanitize accordingly our plant, we will have this problem. Okay. If we spray the grass with, sometimes when we are making cheese, the cheesemakers release the whey and they just dump it to the where the grasses are, where the silage are, where the hay is, and they this way might have the virus and will contaminate the hay or the grass that the cows are eating. So it's not a good practice to just to dump the whey and spread into the grasses. Okay. This virus is so strong that at 95 degrees Celsius is still is the only way that you can kill it. It's the only way. But also the chemical disinfection or chemical sanitizing is also effective. This is the one that I use when I'm making my cheeses. I always use chemical disinfection. By using the solution, the chlorine solution at 200 parts per million, this is more than enough to kill him. Of course, you have to allow the chlorine to act. You have to leave it for a while. So, but even if you heat, if you put your equipment in the dishwasher, if you're making cheese at home and you have this problem, you're using this and the dishwasher. The dishwasher heated, yeah, no, the dishwasher heated at 95 degrees, easy. So it might kill it. Yeah, but if it heat at 80, it won't kill it. So you need to be careful. That's why I always use chemical disinfection. It's better and it's cheaper because I don't have to heat. Heating is energy, and energy is money. So and it's power. So you have to be careful, and it's easier and cheaper to use chemical disinfection. Okay. Now, how to prevent the bacteriophage from happening? Okay, we have to avoid. We have to have a positive mechanical pressure into in our cheese making room or in our kitchen. Okay, we have to have a positive mechanical pressure. Avoid condensation of the water. If you see that you are on your kitchen and the glasses, the windows are condensing water, you need to do something about it. Okay. Also, when you are using, you have to use closed vats. Or for example, if you're using pots because you're making cheese in your room, in your kitchen, doesn't matter. Try to keep the lids of your pots all the time on top, so they don't your milk is not exposed or your curd is not exposed. Okay. Also, before making cheese, you have to sanitize your kitchen, or you have to sanitize your vats if you are making cheese in a plant. And you have to do this daily. So you have to sanitize everything daily. Okay. And for sanitizing floors and walls, is good to use quaternary ammonium. Okay. Also, if you are entering to the area of work, your shoes need to be sanitized before you walk into the area, because you might be walking on the street, and on the street you might have someone might have speeded, or a dog might have do something unwishable, and um, and you might get the virus over there. Okay. In general terms, when we are making cheese, we have to have good hygiene protocols. We have to have good operating practice when regarding to sanitizing. Otherwise, you will be victim of bacteriophagy. And this is very annoying because to get rid of it, you have to stop the production. And when you stop the production, you're gonna waste money, or you're gonna lose money before you find the problem. So that's the thing. Okay. Okay. This is what I wanted to tell you, and let's go with the Q&A. Okay. Let's go with the Q&A now. Okay. I have about 4 or 5 questions. If you have any question and you can ask, you'll be more than welcome. Okay, to ask me anything. I have one question here. Harris Farms is asking me, hi, I need some ideas. I made some fromage blanc and I'm wanting to make some sort of dip out of it for crackers. Not sure what flavoring would be good. The curd is pretty thick and tangy. Okay, look, Harris. If you made fromage blanc is pretty much like cream cheese. Okay. Um, if you want to make some kind of dip, mix it with. I'm gonna give you a bit I'm gonna give you a tip. Mix it with olive oil. Put a little bit of garlic. Stir a little bit and soften the cream. Soften the cheese, the fromage one. Soften it, and you can put as well oregano, or you can put cumin. Make the mix and spread it into your crackers. It would be very nice. When we are using this type of cheese, fromage blanc, cottage, chevre, it's a good practice not to use it with crackers. It's better to use it with bread. If you want to taste the flavor of your cheese, any cheese, if you use crackers, you are masking or you are unleveling the flavor of the cheese, because the cheese has its own flavor, and the crackers, the majority of them, they have flavors as well. So if you are using crackers that have vinegar. To put an example, when you are eating these crackers, you're, you're gonna mix it with your cheese, and the vinegar from the cracker will be on level with the flavor of the cheese. So you will not appreciate it very well. So my advice, if you want to enjoy the flavor of the cheese, always eat it with bread, white bread, homemade bread. Okay, in this way you will be able to enjoy the cheese and not the crackers, because the crackers pretty much they have flavorings, chemical products to give them flavor. So it's better to enjoy it with bread, any type of bread. Okay, and flavoring whatever you want. You also can grab capsicum, grind it a little bit, mix it. If you want your fromage blanc have pretty much an acidic flavor. But if you want to give it a piquant flavor, you can mix it with a little bit of Parmesan cheese on the top. Okay, and you will make and if you want to prepare a dip, mix the Parmesan cheese or grana cheese or a pecorino cheese as well, because these are cheeses that have a strong character, and you can mix it with the fromage. I love blue cheeses, so if in my case, for example, I would mix it. For me, I will mix the fromage with a little bit of roquefort, made like a small mixture over there, and eat it with the cream, with the bread. It will be excellent. Or eat it with a dip with use it as a dip for crackers if you want to use it for crackers as well. You can use rice crackers; they don't have flavor at all, and they I reckon they will be fine. Okay. It says here, Patricia, hi, I've just subscribed from your channel. The kefir way is useful, the same as the way from the milk. I have put it into my fridge for a week. Can I use it to make cheese, or what can I use it for? Well, look, if you are Tricia, if you are using kefir whey, and if you want to make cheese, you can use it for making cheese. The thing is that if you put it in the fridge, it will only last for 3 days. After 3 days, the bacteria will die. So, what I would do is put it in the freezer and use it as much as you need. The bad news is that when you freeze it and you're gonna use it again, maybe your milk, when you heat the milk, will coagulate when you put the bacteria, not the bacteria, when you put these pieces of ice, because it's way frozen way, and when you heat them up at their temperature, that whatever temperature you're heating, your milk might get coagulated because you have approximately 80% of the rennet goes directly to the whey. So your milk might get coagulated. That's why I don't like to use this type of whey. I always like to use um, how do you call it? Lactic cultures, but the frozen ones. Okay, the one that are coming in powder. They are called Laophilize or something like that. I don't remember the name, but it's good to use this type of cultures. I mean, the one that come in powder, not whey, because you might use it, but you won't get a standard product. By using the whey, your whey will have beside the rennet will have a certain level of acidity as well, and might get contaminated as well. You never know, because you can see it. That's what I always like to use this type of product, this type of lactic cultures in powder because your cheese starts from scratch in this way. So, okay, but after 3 days, your bacteria, your cultures will die, and it won't be used. This way will not be useful for making cheese, but you can use it to make bread. sorry, sorry. You can use it to make bread. Yeah, why not? It's good to heat them up first at above 50, so you can denature the whey. Sorry, you can denature the rennet. Well, in other words, you can pasteurize it. If you pasteurize above, I would do it at 63 degrees for half an hour, which is the minimum temperature for pasteurization. So pasteurize your whey, and then you can use it to make bread. Very no problem. Okay. Of course, first of all, before you use it, try to filter it because you might have some kind of bacteria or hair, the rest of hair. I don't know. But it's good to filter it first, and then heat them up. Okay, let's go with the other one. We have two more questions, and we go. Albanese. Pretty much the same question here. Albanese. Hi, good morning, cheese doctor. What can I do with the whey after draining after making yogurt? Well, same. You can if you want to make if you want to use the whey if you want to use the whey after making yogurt, you can grab a little bit of whey, and you can generally, because yogurt is not very complicated, you can use this whey, heat them up. Freeze it, and this whey will be your next mother culture for your next batch. Okay, put in the freezer. It will last maybe 1 month. So you can freeze them up, and this this piece of ice will be your mother culture for your next batch. You can use it perfectly. Okay, of course, only for making yogurt. Yogurt is not very complicated. Yogurt is only milk that is coagulated by acidification. So if you have a little bit of acid in your whey, doesn't matter because you're going to increase the whey, the acidity level with your lactic culture. But don't leave your whey too long, otherwise the bacteria will die. So you need to take fresh whey, not acid whey, because the acid whey might kill the bacteria. So get fresh whey and make your next batch with this whey. Okay. Okay, and I reckon one more question here. Okay. Yeah. How much of calcium chloride and how much of rennet per liter, and the temperature do I'm just translated from Spanish. How much of calcium chloride and how much of rennet per liter, and at what temperature do I have to use to make cheese? Well, look, I don't have the name here. Okay, look. Making cheese is not cooking. Making cheese is not as simple as following a recipe, because when you are making cheese, you need to know what happened to the cheese. Okay, so let's say you are using. I tell you, use mesophilic culture and heat them up, or you use the bacteria, or use yogurt and heat them up at 45 degrees. Depending on the bacteria that you use, you have to heat your milk. If your bacteria is a low temperature bacteria, or a bacteria that can bear low temperature, which is a mesophilic one, and you heat too high, you're going to kill it. So you need to be careful. This is for the temperature. You need to heat your milk at the temperature of the bacteria. Why we heat the milk when we are making cheese? When we are making cheese, we have into the milk we have bacteria, lactic bacteria and non-lactic bacteria. The lactic bacteria will produce acid. The non-lactic bacteria will produce gas. Okay, and also another byproduct, which like enzymes and all this stuff. Okay, but the bacteria to reproduce, they need to be in a good environment. It's like you are in a party. If you are in a party, good temperature, a good temperature, good music, good drinks, good food, you will enjoy, isn't it? Okay, the same happens with the bacteria. If you are in a party or in a disco, and the disco is cold and the food is bad and it's too noisy, you will not be happy and you will go, or you will die. Okay, well, you're not gonna die, but you will live. With the bacteria, happens the same. If the bacteria have the right environment, have if you have a lot of food, which is the lactose, if the bacteria have the heat that she needs to reproduce, she will be happy eating and reproducing and producing lactic acid. Okay, that's the reason why we have to heat the milk to create the condition for the bacteria to reproduce. And we have to heat the milk at the temperature of the bacteria. We can't heat the milk at a lower or too high temperature because she will stress. If the temperature is too high, she will stress and might die. If the temperature is too low, she will sleep because it's too low. It's too cold for her. So this is one thing. The other thing, calcium chloride. We use calcium chloride depending on the type of cheese that you're gonna make. If we are making, for example, any cheese, but we are using pasteurized milk, it's advisable to use calcium chloride. But it will depend on the solution, on the concentration of the product. So you need to read the manufacturer's recommendation of what you need to do. Now, for curdling your milk, renneting your milk, if you put too much rennet, your curd will get bitter. If you use too low rennet, your milk will not coagulate. So you have to use the supplier's recommendations. So it's not following a recipe. You need to know what's happening into the curd, into the milk. So that's why you need to learn. That's why I offer you my cheese making course for beginners. And by the way, I haven't put the links here. I'm gonna put the links here. You can have it. Okay, I'm gonna put it here. Here it is the link. Here's the link. So you need to learn what happened to the cheese. If you don't know what happened to the cheese, you will fail. Okay, this is the link if you want to learn how to make cheese. It's not following a recipe. It's more than that. It's more than that. What happens if you have, for example, what we saw today, bacteriophagy? If your milk is infected with the virus, what are you gonna do? You need to know what's happening. You need to know what to do. Or if your rennet is too old, how do you know that it's too old? So you need to understand what's happening into the cheese. Or sometimes your curd acidified too quickly, and you didn't have time to, and you miss it. If you want to make, for example, mozzarella, and your milk or your curd acidified too quickly, and you miss the window for stretching. So what are you gonna do? It's not following the recipe, because if you follow the recipe and the recipe tells you use X amount of grams per liter, but the thing is that this type of culture that they use is different than the one that you're using. So you need to know I'm using this type of culture. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. So that's why you need to learn. And I'll put you the link if you want to learn. Okay. If you want to learn how to make cheese, follow this course. You will learn, and it's not only that. You will be part of my community, the Cheese Master community. Of course, at the beginning you're starting, you're not going to be a cheese master. You're going to be a cheese crack. Okay, but you will learn, and we'll guide you, guided by the hand. We'll guide you hand by hand, and we'll be monitoring you, making your cheeses. And we're going to give you five sessions of half an hour with me or one of my team. So you will be monitored by us, and you will be into a Facebook group where you will be asking your questions, and we're going to answer them. And if you want to make cheese making as a business, you will succeed, because we're going to be over your back or behind you watching what you're doing. So live the experience. If you want to learn, go to this course, because it's worthy, and it's very cheap. Okay, thanks for coming, guys. See you next week. And well, that's it. Next week I will speak about another topic. I don't remember. I don't know what yet, but for sure I will bring you something very interesting. Take care and see you next week.
Quesitos en casa, fáciles de hacer son. El doctor Quesero te enseña con sabor. Quesitos en casa, fáciles de hacer son. El doctor Quesero te enseña con sabor. Quesos colombianos y venezolanos, todo hecho en tu casa, con sabor zuliano y calor humano. Los quesos en casa tienen vitaminas, rápidos de hacer en cualquier cocina.